All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out Solar Assistant. I like it. It's really handy. As you can see, we are currently off grid, charging batteries and powering it. The house as usual. It's very easy to set up. Very easy for just about any inverter type. The software really has a good selection. Like I say, very easy to set up. I can go through a complete setup, which I probably will. But this video, we're just going to show it to you. If you'd like a complete setup, just let me know. We're just going to go through it and see what you think. Like I say, it's really nice. Now the first tab, the inverter tab, just shows your inverter mode. You can click it, and when you click it, you get all of your inverter stats of the full inverter. Of course, you can see there's no grid power and things like that at the moment. But yeah, we'll let you have a good look at all the different stats that you do get in the inverter tab. It'll show also what mode you're in, depending on what state the inverter is on. Right now it's solar battery. You can't change that from here, but I can tap that and show you that it'll go through all the different modes. And then we'll go back. The solar one you can't tap, but I'll show you later how to get stats from that. The grid, there's nothing on it, so it doesn't tap either. The battery, you can tap it, and it shows you in better graphs and better detail, a little more detail of the battery, just like the inverter does. The inverter tab, it shows you what power is going into it. Just tap away from there so that number will go away, if it will. There you go. Okay. Yeah. So you get a good view of the battery there. And we'll go back to the dashboard. Same thing with you can't tap the solar one either, or the battery charge, but you can see 933 going into the battery, plus over here is the load, which right now there's 404 going out, and the solar is the sum of both solar arrays. You can see that later down here when it starts breaking them down for you. Then you get a good view of that's the battery power, battery state of charge. Those. Now if we go over to the charts, there's where you can start to see and have a little better idea of what each thing is doing, whether it be the battery power. Here soon you'll get down to the solar. Yeah, there's MPPT1 voltage. MPP2 voltage, so you can see we're getting two different arrays. There's your current. Same thing. Now we're not pulling a whole lot because we're only, well, it's not doing bad. But that's how the charts lay out. Now you can do some cool things with these charts. Like this battery current. This is the sum again. But I can, let's see, let's find a more interesting tab. Let's go back up. Okay. On the heading, you can tap the where it says MPPT1 power, and you can do view, share. I hadn't tried that. The inspect is really cool. You can inspect it. Now this might cause me a issue with recording. I'm not real sure, but we'll say data. Okay, and on the data, now you can slide it over potentially. Oh yeah, right here. On the phone, it's a little bit harder to do than the PC, but there we go. You just tap that little arrow up there next to the X, and we can do PV power. Okay, there we go. And it gives you a breakdown of the times, the hours, and what's going through. You can then download that as a data file if you needed to, for whatever reason. But you can see it gives the hours, the date, right down to the few minutes of what power, when, how much is coming in at any given state. A little bit better way of looking at it rather than just the chart. Now, if you go back to the chart, you can. Now remember, we're on the phone. You can pinch and zoom up, so you can get a little bit better look at the graph that has been drawn so far. If you're curious, you can do that as well. Let's just hit charts again and get completely refreshed. Hang on, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to dashboard, and you can see we can do that to this one. Now you can see everything on one graph. The load is blue, but it gives you the right there, the key: load power, grid power, PV power. So those are your colors, and you can see them, how they conjunct and work together. And it's in real time. There's no wait time and whatnot. And then what we can do, I'll show you the chart of the totals. The totals graph is cool too. Of course, that's your overview, but then you get the calendar. So like you can see the last few days, and it's I don't even really have to touch anything. Now today it hasn't been on long enough to generate, but you can see yesterday 2.3 kilowatts, 2.7 from the PV, only 0.1 kilowatt charge. So I started with a full tank yesterday. I like to try to do that when I can. Very cool. And this power is for power management, for battery management and things like that. If you're using a different BMS, you can do a lot of scheduling and power maintenance that way. Not much to show here. The settings is a fun tab. And in fact, I have 2 inverters, and I will activate the second one. It won't show up on this one alongside of it. I have to work out, I think there must be a port conflict. And so I got to do a little research into finding out. I on here how to possibly move ports. Apparently both USB direct cable ports obviously are on the same port, because I can get access to one inverter or the other inverter. If I try to get access to both at the same time, it has a fit. I'll show you. But that's not really a software issue. As you can see right now, we have the model is set for the inverter, for Voltronic, because it's a MPP, and then direct USB out. Now I can tap that in theory. Maybe I have to disconnect, so let's do, I should be able to tap it, but it's not gonna let me, so we'll do it. We'll disconnect. Okay. Yeah, now it'll let me. And see, now I can select both at the same time, and after I get that little port issue worked out, now when I connect, you got save, then connect. That one says it's connected, and that one is probably the original one that I had going. You'll see in a second that yeah, no response. And then just the reconnecting. Now let's see which one is actually live. Okay, it's obviously the one we were looking at before, the big inverter. So what we'll do is we'll go back, and I'll make it quit doing that because it'll just keep trying. And what I can do to show you that they do work is very quick. Even if you can't solve it that way, it's very quick, because then you just turn off that one, save, connect, and you can still do it from anywhere. So there. Now it won't give me that issue. Now it'll show the battery voltage. None of the other stuff is going active, because what that other inverter is for, what I use it for, which I'll cover in another video, but I use it for generator charging, rather than hooking my nasty powered good, you know, bad generator up to a really nice inverter. I use this old MPP inverter, hook the generator to it, and then use the DC out right to the battery bank, just like you normally would. That way this other inverter doesn't do any switching and going from mode to mode. It just thinks the battery is magically filling up, so we don't end up with, it doesn't switch from bypass and all of that. I like doing it that way. To me, it feels safer. I don't mind, not that I would want to, but I don't mind losing the old inverter versus the generator doing something to this, you know, $2,000 inverter. That wouldn't necessarily tickle me. So that's the way I do it. Now we'll go back to, take that one off and turn that one on. Close, save, connect. And it really is that easy, even if you had to swap them, even if I can't solve that port issue. But I do believe there is a way to do it. Just haven't researched it, because I really don't care. Because that inverter is actually only on if and when I need to charge from the generator anyway, which you can tell, you probably heard the click. I just deactivated it. All right, so back to settings. That's where we were. As you can see, the name of the web, the site where it goes, and Oh, in here now, even though it wants me to disconnect before we can look at some of the settings of the inverter. Now this is the settings of the inverter that is selected and running. Tells what it is, and then the battery settings. Actually, on this tab we don't have to disconnect, but you can see that we are editing as if I were going to change stuff in the battery settings area, and you can see where we're floating. All of the back to grid stuff, all of everything that you can get from Watch Power basically is here. Some of the stuff that aren't isn't quite such a big deal, because you can access that through the other app that we covered on here. And that app, now that I have Solar Assistant working really well, which took only about 10 minutes really, and 15 maybe if you include flashing the memory card and getting the whole thing set up. It's really a ease to do it. But because this is hooked up to it, the other app doesn't seem to give me nearly the issues that it used to with connecting and all the rest. I guess the inverter is happier. Who knows? But there you can see this tab, and now I can cancel because I didn't save anything, or I can just back out because that. So this is the tab that it's going to want me to disconnect, but I'm not going to. We're just going to show you. It's the advanced next to connect. And that just covers, this helps, as you can see where it says, it really just helps the dashboard. It helps your display gauges look right. So you would put in your max solar PV power, for instance. I have 3200 watts, so about 3.2 kilowatts. There's probably more than that out there, but that's really all I've ever seen coming through, especially this time of year. I think it peaks a bit better than that in the summer. But all in all, and in fact, I may watch if I can catch it this summer and see exactly how much, since this software is so accurate. May see just how much I actually do get from it and update that, just so the gauge is a little bit more accurate. But that's really all that this page is for. Now, this self-consumption, kind of, you can deduct that from what your inverter uses up, from what I gather. All right, and then we're back to the home screen again, and like I say, you can tell, like, if I didn't have that solar PV array set like that, if I had it for 6,000, then that bar wouldn't be nearly as far up. But if I'm using it with my accurate amount of solar, then I can tell without even reading the numbers, just by a glance, if I'm generating well into nearly half of what I can produce. Same thing with the load and the different ones. And was there anything else? There are some other things that aren't really as, of course, when you're setting your unit up, you can do the internet time, so it keeps everything synced for you as far as time. You can see the usage, the space on the I got 63 gig, and I've only used 4% of that for this software. That software version, when there is one or an update, like when I first installed it, there was an update available. It just says it'll show update available, and you just click it or download. It will automatically download to the Orange Pi, and then install. Now, the first time I had to do it once or twice, I can't remember. That, or there were just multiple little downloads, little updates possibly, but it took very easy. You can shut down the whole thing, or reboot it. This next tab really deals with Home Assistant and things like that. We can look at it, but there's really, I don't use that, so there's not a lot to show here. You just put in your credentials for your Home Assistant, and you can then control this, or at least get some readings probably from Home Assistant. I'm sure if you asked it what your battery voltage was or your battery percentage, it would tell you. So, and you can do some controls apparently too. Haven't tried that. I don't have Home Assistant, but that's pretty cool. Now, let's see, refresh. The web version of this looks pretty much the same. I don't want to turn my phone while I'm screen recording. It might cause issues with the video later, but it pretty much is exactly the same. The only difference is those tabs at the top get longer. If you go into landscape view, they get longer, and they actually say what they are rather than just showing the little thumb picture. Because, like I say, since it's running on the Orange Pi, you can access it anywhere once you're live. So you can access it on any PC, basically anything with a web browser. And so it looks pretty much the same. It even looks the same if you connect an HDMI cable directly to the Orange Pi, which I have done just to see what it kind of looks like. I'm gonna bring another screen out and do it again with a keyboard and mouse, so I can have a peek inside and possibly learn my way around the OS a little bit, and either break something or find out, maybe that's when I'll snoop around and find out if I have a port issue with those two inverters or whatnot. But that's it. In a nutshell, the install is really, like I say, the thing that I really like and that I've heard other people and they use is the charts. But I do like the fact that that the settings and the things, I can control pretty much every facet of the inverter. Like I say, anything that I can't is probably not one that I use very often anyway. But definitely anything that you use after you have done your inverter setup and whatnot is there, and it's flawlessly there. There's no real issues with connecting, staying connected to it. I'm sure as you've been seeing the screen and as this video has been going on, I mean, there's no hard way to get to get connected to it. Even if your internet drops, when it comes back, the machine auto connects back and you're good to go again. You don't have to interact with it to get it right again. So it truly is meant to be monitored even when you're not around it, because it just, once it's on, and it does what it does. And the setup, if you buy it as a unit, of course, you know, there's not a whole lot. You plug it in and you go create an account at the solarassistant.io. And that's what it is solarassistant.io. Of course, you can see the well, let's see, that's just my inverter address down there. But I think what we can do, so that we can get a better view, if I do that, okay. So it's going to, from here, this is the solarassistant.io site, and it tells you, of course, that it's you know, which site that I'm on. I don't want to stick around in here too long, but it gives you, basically, as if you're setting up your website. And that's how you would go in, but I'll show you. Probably have to do that. Like I say, I may do that in another video, the process for setting it up, but I'll explain it real quick because it's easy. Like I say, if you buy the unit, all you have to do is plug it in to your inverter and to its power source, and pretty much follow the screen. Even if you don't want to follow the screen, you just go to solarassistant.io, create an account, and once you have created an account, and even the account creation is really simple. You get your username and password, and you put in an email, and they send you an email confirmation. Once that's done, your account's created. There's, you don't need huge, 20 fields to fill out. It's straightforward. And then you go into the website, into their site, and there's not even a whole lot of tabs there. There's shop, and there's sites, which is where you'll go, would go. And then there's one or two other things, but it's almost as clean and non-cluttered as the Solar Assistant itself. But after you've created your account and it's all hooked up and active, you just click the sites tab on their site and register your site. If it's not there, then you go to sites locals, and like I say, go through your screen, and your screen will help you register it, and it'll reach out and find your unit, and then it registers it. It's really simple. I had never even looked at it. I don't think I had even ever seen a video on how to do it, much more than kind of briefly reading about it on their own website. And they have some good help files anyway, and so it's really no trouble setting up. And like I say, it just is all around a good product, I think. It definitely beats any of the other softwares that you can get your hands on through, whether it be Watch Power or anything else. And so, like I say, we can cover a full setup at some point. Trying to think if there's anything else that we need to look at. All of those tabs, you can do that too. You can tap, you know, of course we're not right now. I'm not gonna go through, but you can tap it and pull them down into formats that you know, or however you want to do. But I think that pretty much covers the software. If anyone has any questions about any other things that I haven't covered, I try to cover what I know most people would look for by just cruising around it, and figuring some things out. Like I only found out the other day, just by playing with it, that I can go to that tab button and then hit these tabs up here and download whichever section that I want. That's pretty cool. Like I say, I only kind of worked that out just by monkeying with it on the phone here. And so I try to cover just those things, the things that really you're going to need or want. Anything beyond what I've shown you, you'll find out, and you know, you'll use it if you need that feature or if not. But the stuff that's right up front is what you use, and it's really easy to get used to it. Like I say, it's just not a lot going on that's gonna confuse you. You know, if you need to change your battery stuff, float charge, or any of those bulk, you just do it, and it's instant, and it works. So like I say, I think that's about it. If you want, I can do a complete video on a setup, step by step, except for registration and things, because I already have that. But I can create a video that will walk through pretty much everything except for that step. And like I say, it's really easy, not at all challenging, and I don't think I've even seen or dealt with anyone who's had any issues with getting it to happen. So I think that does it. Like I say, just leave comments, what you might want to see, or any questions. I've gotten really familiar with it, so if there's something that I have left out, we can definitely cover that, either in another video or just straight through the comments. So I think that one does it for today.